There's a silent movement unfolding right now, an invisible dance between synchronicities, archetypes, and deep desires you may not even be aware of. What once felt distant and unreachable is starting to take form. Can you feel it? That faint restlessness as if something is about to happen. It's not a coincidence. The universe is conspiring, and in the depths of your psyche, archetypal forces are preparing the ground for a reunion with something or someone that resonates directly with your truest essence. The soulmate isn't merely someone outside of you. It is, above all, a part of yourself that, once recognized and integrated, changes the way you attract and connect. The journey has begun, and it unfolds now, step by step, symbol by symbol, gesture by gesture. If you feel that something is approaching, comment, "I'm ready to recognize what my soul already knows." The search for the soulmate, from the lens of Carl Jung's analytical psychology, is far more than the pursuit of an ideal partner. It is, in truth, a journey of individuation, the process of integrating all parts of oneself, including those that were rejected, repressed, or projected onto others. The concept of the soulmate, in this sense, can be understood as the symbolic encounter with the self, the totality of being. Jung teaches us that what we project onto others, especially in intense romantic relationships, is often a manifestation of unconscious content. When we fall in love, we're frequently seeing in the other a personification of our own unintegrated qualities, what he called anima in men and animus in women. The true encounter with the soulmate begins, therefore, with the integration of these inner polarities. The shadow, in turn, represents the hidden and unacknowledged aspects of the personality. Ignoring it prevents us from seeing clearly who we are and with whom we can truly connect on a deeper level. By bringing light to the shadow, we become more whole and more capable of loving without illusion or projected need. When Jung speaks of synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences, he suggests that the universe responds to our inner state. Thus, when we are truly ready and aligned with our individuation process, the universe moves the pieces with almost magical precision. The soulmate, in this context, is not a random event. It is a reflection, a calling, and a mirror that appears at the exact moment we are prepared to recognize and sustain love born from wholeness, not from lack. There are moments in life when something shifts silently within us, like a soft breeze announcing the arrival of a new season. It's not a visible or noisy change, but a subtle movement in the soul, a feeling of anticipation, a quiet unease, a sense that something or someone is drawing near. This inner calling is not mere chance. It's the first sign that deeper forces are moving toward a meaningful reunion. According to Carl Jung, the unconscious doesn't just store repressed content. It functions as a living organism, endowed with its own wisdom, guiding the psyche toward wholeness. When this process intensifies, it sends signs, images, dreams, and sensations that act as symbolic omens. These signals aren't meant to be interpreted literally, but to be felt, embraced, and intuited. It is the soul speaking in its silent language, preparing the field for what is to come. The call for the soulmate encounter always begins from within. Before the other arrives, there's a preparatory movement deep in the psyche. Old wounds surface, past emotional patterns re-emerge, and seemingly unrelated experiences repeat with uncanny frequency. This cycle, however uncomfortable it may seem, is not random. It's a symbolic cleansing process in which the unconscious seeks to dissolve blockages, open space, and refine perception so that the soul may recognize what belongs to it. Dreams, for example, are among the clearest ways this call manifests. Jung observed that the unconscious communicates through symbols, and dreams often anticipate significant events, preparing consciousness for what is to come. A recurring dream of meetings, intense gazes, open roads, doors opening, or the presence of an unknown figure stirring deep emotion may be the soul's way of announcing the movement that approaches. These aren't magical predictions, but symbolic alignments between inner transformation and external manifestation. Another common sign of this call is the feeling of displacement. People often describe a sense of no longer belonging to the same environments, drifting away from old friendships or losing interest in routines that once filled their days. This emptiness, as uncomfortable as it is a natural stage of inner preparation. The soul, sensing that something essential is about to unfold, begins to detach from what no longer resonates with the new frequency. It's as if space were being cleared within, making room for what is meant to arrive. It's important to understand that the inner call is not rational nor controllable. It appears as intuition, as a subtle voice whispering in moments of silence, as inexplicable melancholy, or as excitement without apparent cause. And it's precisely when we begin to listen to these messages, without trying to fully understand them, but simply allowing them to exist, that the inner field opens for recognition of the other. This other, the one many call the soulmate, doesn't arrive as a savior or a missing puzzle piece. They appear as a mirror, and for this mirror to be recognized, our gaze must be clear and our heart open. The soul only recognizes what it has already touched before. That's why the encounter begins long before the meeting itself. Jung spoke of synchronicity as a bridge between the inner and outer worlds. But this bridge can only be crossed when there is listening. The inner call is the first crossing, the moment when we accept that something greater, invisible, and symbolic is already unfolding. The soul knows before the mind does, and when it senses something, it's because the moment is drawing near. Listening to this call isn't about desperately searching for someone, but about turning inward with depth, courage, and surrender. It's letting inner time set the rhythm, trusting that the psychic universe has already begun its dance, and that when the heart is ready, the world will respond. Many believe that love at first sight is the meeting of predestined souls. However, from Carl Jung's perspective, what manifests in that intense instant may be something deeper, and at the same time, more illusory: projection. When we meet someone who irresistibly attracts us, it's often because we're seeing in that person unconscious fragments of ourselves, aspects we haven't yet recognized, integrated, or that remain hidden in our shadow. The shadow, for Jung, represents everything excluded from consciousness, because it doesn't fit the image we've built of who we think we are. It holds our repressed desires, fears, unacknowledged talents, anger, sexuality, vulnerability. In short, everything we've judged too inappropriate or dangerous to reveal to the world. Yet this shadow doesn't disappear. It seeks expression, and often finds in another person the perfect mirror through which to reveal itself. That's why we're sometimes magnetically drawn to someone without knowing why. The force of attraction may be linked to deep aspects of the psyche that find in the other a symbolic outlet for expression. When we project parts of our shadow onto someone, that person becomes irresistible, not because they complete us, but because unconsciously we feel they hold something of ours that we have not yet accepted. This mechanism is natural and, to some extent, inevitable. Projection is a bridge between the unconscious and consciousness. It allows us to contact inner material indirectly, using relationships as mirrors to discover who we truly are. But when we fail to realize we're projecting, we risk idealizing the other, creating unrealistic expectations, and placing on them the responsibility to save, heal, or give meaning to our lives. The beginning of many passionate relationships carries this intense energy of projection. But as time passes, the veil falls, and we begin to see the other as they truly are: human, flawed, complex. That moment, often accompanied by disappointment or conflict, is also a precious opportunity. It's the moment love can stop being illusion and start becoming truth, when we stop loving only the reflection of our own unmet needs and begin to see the other clearly as they are. This process of disillusionment isn't the end of love. It can actually be its true beginning. But it requires courage to look inward and ask, what am I seeing in this person that really belongs to me? Which traits do I reject in myself that now irritate me in the other? Or conversely, what qualities do I admire so deeply in this person that perhaps I need to awaken in myself? The encounter with the soulmate, therefore, demands ongoing inner work. It requires illuminating the shadow, recognizing projections, and gradually withdrawing them from the other. This process is neither quick nor comfortable, but it is what transforms unconscious passion into genuine connection, one based on presence, acceptance, and emotional maturity. Jung invites us to understand that real love begins when we stop seeing the other as savior or enemy and recognize them as a mirror, a fellow traveler who helps us see more clearly what we haven't yet integrated. The shadow isn't an enemy to be fought, but an essential part of our being that must be embraced. And it's precisely when we do this that we begin attracting people aligned with who we truly are. not with the distorted image we project to the world. To love truly is to see, to accept, to sustain both the weight and the beauty of the other's reality. And that is only possible when we do the same with ourselves. When we accept both our light and our shadow, we stop seeking in others what we lack and begin sharing what in us is already whole. In that space of consciousness and presence, love ceases to be an escape from loneliness and becomes a sacred reunion, not only with another soul, but with the deepest part of our own. Within every human being exist living polarities, feminine and masculine aspects that, when unacknowledged or unintegrated, are projected outward in search of expression. Carl Jung called these inner forces Anima and animus, archetypal representations of the feminine in the male psyche and the masculine in the female psyche. These archetypes aren't mere social constructs or gender roles, but deep psychic energies shaping how we perceive others, how we love, and the kind of partners we attract. The anima, within a man, is the image of his inner feminine, the source of his sensitivity, intuition, creativity, and emotional connection with life. The animus, within a woman, represents her inner masculine, her strength, clarity, reason, and direction. When these forces are not integrated, we start seeking them desperately outside ourselves. Thus, men idealize women as muses or saviors, while women project onto men the figure of a guide, hero, or protector. Such projection creates intense yet unstable relationships. The other ceases to be seen as they are and instead becomes the unconscious embodiment of what we're missing within. At that stage, love is not a meeting between two whole beings, but a symbolic reunion with exiled parts of ourselves. That's why so many relationships begin with deep enchantment and end in painful disillusion. The projected image dissolves and reality emerges, revealing that what we were seeking in the other was, in truth, a forgotten piece of ourselves. Integrating the anima and animus is one of the most challenging and transformative tasks in Jung's path of individuation. It means realizing that the feminine and masculine are not opposites to be reconciled only through external relationships, but complementary forces that must communicate within. A man who integrates his anima becomes more sensitive, creative, and capable of emotional connection without fear. A woman who integrates her animus develops autonomy, discernment, and the courage to follow her path without needing external validation. This inner integration not only transforms how we relate to the world, but also changes how we choose those we connect with. When these polarities are balanced within us, we stop seeking in others what we feel we lack. Instead, we recognize and value what resonates with our own wholeness. The soulmate then isn't someone who completes us, but someone who mirrors our completeness. A meeting of two beings walking side by side, not halves searching for one another. Furthermore, integrating anima and animus prepares us for a deeper kind of love, one less ruled by romantic idealizations and more attuned to the symbolic reality of the other. We stop projecting roles and unrealistic expectations and begin to see who the other truly is. A person with their own journey, light and shadow, strength and vulnerability. It's in this space that love becomes real, when we can love not the idealized image, but the authentic being before us. Jung also linked this union of opposites to the idea of the alchemical marriage, an ancient symbol of spiritual transformation. True love, for him, is an inner ritual where the masculine and feminine meet within the soul, generating a new, unified consciousness. This inner marriage is the foundation for any healthy external relationship, for from it arises the ability to love deeply, to commit without losing freedom, and to remain whole beside another. Therefore, the path to real love does not lie merely in finding another person, but in the courage to look inward and recognize these inner forces. The soulmate doesn't arrive to complete you, but to awaken you, and that awakening only happens when the dance between anima and animus becomes conscious, symbolic, and integrated. At that point, love stops being a desire for fusion and becomes expansion, a space where two wholes meet to grow together, not to fill each other's voids. There are moments in life when everything seems to align inexplicably. You meet someone in an unlikely place, or a chain of coincidences brings two people to the same point at the same time, as if a silent intelligence were weaving the plot. For Jungian psychology, this isn't mere chance, it's synchronicity, a concept revealing how the unconscious and the universe interact, producing encounters with deep symbolic meaning, even without a visible causal link. Synchronicity occurs when an external event coincides with an inner state of meaning. In other words, when something stirring within the psyche finds its echo in the outer world, forming a mirror between the invisible and the visible. Jung believed these moments are expressions of the collective unconscious, a shared psychic field connecting all people through archetypal images and universal symbolic experiences. When two people meet synchronistically, what's revealed isn't just coincidence, but the alignment of two individual journeys converging at a destined point. Many people describe meeting their soulmate after profound inner change, a time of solitude, emotional transformation, or even existential crisis. It's as if the universe waits for the exact moment when both souls are ready to recognize each other. And when that moment arrives, the signs appear. Chance encounters, words spoken at the perfect time, recurring symbols, or an unshakable feeling that it was meant to be. Synchronicity is the stage on which the unconscious manifests itself through the signs of the world. But to perceive these signs, one must be awake. Most people go through life on autopilot, ignoring the subtle messages crossing their path. Synchronicity isn't magic in the common sense. It's a call to awareness, an invitation to listen deeply to your inner world. The universe doesn't speak in words. It communicates through symbols, repetitions, and heightened emotions around certain experiences. When two people are touched by the same symbol at the same time, a meaningful bond forms, even if they don't yet understand why. Jung said the self, the totality of the psyche, guides individuation through dreams, events, and encounters. Synchronicity is one of the ways this self operates, leading the individual toward experiences essential for consciousness to grow. So when two people are at similar stages of inner maturity, when both have faced their shadows, integrated their inner opposites, and are ready to recognize the other as a mirror, the universe creates the conditions for their paths to cross. This crossing, though it may seem random, is a response to inner work already done. Yet recognizing synchronicity requires more than sensitivity. It requires responsibility. Destiny, even when it manifests, doesn't impose anything. It offers opportunities, moments of choice that can be embraced or ignored. A meaningful encounter may happen, but if one is still ruled by projections, unhealed wounds, or fear of surrender, the moment can pass unnoticed. The soul recognizes, but the rational mind resists, seeking safety in old patterns. That's why it's not enough for the universe to move the pieces. We must be willing to consciously play this symbolic game of life. Synchronicity also has a revealing function. It doesn't just bring the right people together at the right time, it also exposes what still needs healing. Often, meeting a soulmate doesn't only bring lightness, but also depth, reflecting wounds, attachment patterns, and emotional defenses. It's a love that unveils and demands transformation. In that sense, destiny isn't passively fulfilled. It's built through the awareness with which we live the signs we are given. When we understand that the universe responds to our inner state, we begin to see that we are never isolated. The way we feel, think, and act shapes the field around us. Synchronicity reminds us that a greater intelligence operates beyond the mind's control, yet is sensitive to our willingness to grow. The soulmate may be closer than we think, not because we've followed a map, but because we've learned to read the signs. The universe doesn't force encounters, it invites them. And when two hearts answer the same call, no distance, obstacle, or time can stop destiny from unfolding. True connection doesn't happen outside, it begins within. The encounter with the soulmate is only a reflection of a deeper process, reconciling forgotten parts of yourself, embracing the shadow, integrating the opposites, and listening closely to the soul's call. As Carl Jung taught, everything that remains unconscious reappears as destiny, and within that destiny, love can arise, not as a promise of completeness, but as a mirror of our emotional and spiritual maturity. The soul senses when something is approaching. It moves before the mind can comprehend, and the universe responds with signs, meetings, and intertwined paths guided by invisible forces. To be present, awake, and whole is the key to recognizing when destiny knocks at the door. If you feel this is your moment, trust it. The love that transforms begins in inner silence and manifests when you are ready to receive it. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and dive even deeper into self-discovery with the video on your screen. Your journey is unique, and it deserves to be lived with consciousness and truth.